Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whenever you are. Thank you for joining me. This is the community live stream on the ServiceNow YouTube channel. My name is Chuck Tomasi. I am the ServiceNow guy with the cool bow tie doing the Throwback Thursday thing today. Get that adjusted a little better. There we go. I couldn't resist. I saw the lineup of ties and I said, you know, this one's been sitting on the shelf for a little while. Let's do a Throwback Thursday. So why not? Those of you who have watched previous videos and seen this community live stream prior to mid-May, prior to Knowledge 18, this was the tie I wore every day. So I thought it'd be fun just to take it out and show it off again and see what I can get away with, really. As I said, my name is Chuck Tomasi. I am from ServiceNow. This is July 12th, 2018. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me live. If you are joining live, that is a wonderful thing. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy, busy day to share this with me. Let me get down here into the corner and get started with the preliminaries. This is the community behind me. The objective of this show is to go through as many questions and not only provide you or the person on the other end with the answers or help them, but the thought process that goes on behind that. Some detective work, some research, some reading the RTFM, reading the fabulous manual, or should we just call it the website, the doc site? I don't know. That acronym still works, RTFM, right? It's a fabulous, refined manual, in my opinion. The thought process, the detective work, and explain. And sometimes I go down a rabbit hole. I go into best practices. I go into experimentation. You never know what you're going to get. This is completely unscripted. Even this part I make up off the top of my head. All right, if you are joining live on YouTube, I recommend you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and that way you can get notifications. Let's see, did I get a notification yet? Yes, I did. There is one that says, hey, now community live stream is happening right now. So that's good. We'll give everybody else a chance to respond to that and see how it goes. If you find something useful in the next hour or so that is helpful, informative, insightful, click that like button and you will help others find it as well. Look at that. Carolyn's on board. Good morning. Like the retro tie. Good. It's Throwback Thursday. We'll do that. Good day, Snehal. Good to see you again. Waiting eagerly for your live stream. Wow. Probably been sitting there for the last hour going, when does it start? When does it start? When does it start? I always start at 1 p.m. UTC on any weekday that I am home and available and in good health. Let's leave it at that. This is a labor of love. There is nothing in my job description that says I have to do this. I do it for you and you alone. So we can all learn, we can all share. If you are in the chat, give me a shout out, say hi, let me know where you're from, that sort of thing. If I get stuck, you can always throw into the conversation. There's been a number of times when this has been a two-way conversation, not just a one-way broadcast, that people in the chat are there to help me as well. We also do this on Twitch. I know there are people that watch over there. Thank you very much. I simulcast on both YouTube and Twitch. So twitch.tv/NowCommunity is where you go for that. We also will be visiting the developer portal at developer.servicenow.com. I skipped one. I should be going to the community first. If you have something beyond just a comment that says, hello, where you're from, how's the weather, Chuck, you missed a semicolon, that sort of thing. If you've got an in-depth question about ServiceNow, please post it on the community. One question per post, post it in the proper subforum. You will get best results. I have an example of that today. I'm not trying to bash anybody, but they posted 10 questions in one post. And A, it's going to take a long time to answer all 10 of those. B, it's hard to mark anything correct if you still have outstanding questions. Those threads never seem to die. They're general informative questions. I'll get to them. I really do appreciate this, but I'm not going to lambast anybody on the air for not understanding the community etiquette. I did say, hey, please post these in separate posts. It'll be easier to answer, easier to continue the conversation on any one specific topic. But I did grab the questions and say, just in case they delete this, I want to go over those and see how far we can get through those 10 in this hour and anything else. So it was a great setup. Like, just happened minutes before I went on the air. Having a lot of good time. Keep learning, keep exploring. I love the hashtag, Snehal. Thank you very much. Those are great. I encourage that. So community.servicenow.com. I feel it's the greatest online community in the world. I hope you do too. Don't be afraid to go over there and check it out. Ask your questions. No question is too basic. If you are just getting started or you are a 10-year veteran like me, ask away. There are helpful people out there. It's great to bounce ideas off of people and get opinions, get inputs, different ways of doing things. There's not always one solution. Just remember to give context to what you're trying to do. Instead of saying, hey, is there a way to do this in a REST API? Explain what you're trying to do. What is the business requirement? What is the context around this? Because a REST API may not be the right answer for you. There may be a better, more effective way. I have been guilty more times than I can count of writing a long, protracted script only to find out there's built-in functionality that already does that. So nobody knows everything, and that's how we all learn and we share together. I was just reading a few posts this morning and went, you know what? That's a great idea. I hadn't thought of it that way, and I like your answer better than what I was thinking. There's been times when I even delete my answer. I go, whoa, don't go there. You know, the other answer is way better. I'm taking mine down. I was so ashamed of it. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen from time to time. All right, we will also be going over to the developer portal where I have a free personal developer instance, and you can get one too, running Istanbul, Jakarta, Kingston, any of the latest releases. And in a few short days, probably by the end of this month, July 2018, you will be able to get your hands on a London instance, which is going to be all sorts of new fun. Every release, couple times a year, we'll have lots of new features, and you can go explore them. We will be covering the London features, the London platform features, in our August Tech Now update. We just did the July one a couple of days ago on Tuesday. Went very, very well. Thanks for joining on that. And you can go check that out. As soon as I get the info, the MP4 file to post the video, the questions and answers, and get them answered, I will be putting that on the community as well. So you can find that on our Tech Now episode list if you want to find that and all the other episodes we've done in the past. Just go to the community, see the search box at the top right there, search for Tech Now episode list, and you will find all of the other episodes we've done on Glide Ajax and Service Portal and Jakarta features, you name it, it'll be out there for the last 5.5 years. We've been doing this a long, long time with various hosts. We are happy to introduce Stacey Bailey to the team. She did a great job on our webinar. We will be continuing to bring her back. I hope she comes back in August. And we'll also be joined by special guest star Pradeep Sharma, who is number 2 in the community. You can see right here as I scroll up. There's our leaderboard. I'm at the top. Pradeep is right there behind me. He has been a fun, friendly competition. Respect the man and everything he does. A very smart person. I see him still answering lots and lots of questions on the community. So hope to see you there in August 14th. I will have one of the placards up there for you as we go through that. Developer.servicenow.com. Not only is it a free developer instance, but you can also get, oops, that's the doc site. Did I lose it? I lost it. Developer.servicenow.com looks something like this. Let's see if it loads up that page. There we go. There's also, excuse me. Did you say July 18th? The next Tech Now is going to be August 14th. The London PDIs will be out later this month. I don't have an exact date. I know early access starts July 26th. That has not changed in a while, so I don't anticipate it to change. And the PDIs usually get access to it very, very soon, right after that. So watch for that announcement and keep your eyes on the developer portal. We also have lots of developer events. Kevin Eldridge is out there. Kevin is in charge of one of our meetups. Thank you very much. We have meetups all over the place. Let me put that away and bring up the meetup page. There we are. My fingers can still blindly type. I can't find my water. There it is. If you go to meetup.com, you can find out, I think we've got 46 chapters, about 10,000 members around the world. You can see the meetup schedule there. I'm not going to read it off to you, but they're all over the place. And if there is not one in your area, please, please, please reach out to us. Let us know that you want to start one, be an organizer, and we can certainly help you get that started. It is a wonderful time. You set the agenda. You pick the topics. You figure it out. It's great community of developers to share and think, much like this, but in real life, face-to-face. Pradeep and I are working on the London slide deck that we will do for August, but we will also be making that same information available to the developer meetup. So if you can't get to the Tech Now webinar, or you want to discuss these things in person, or you want to explore some of these features, we will have those slides available to the developer meetups after we do the Tech Now episode. I did a road trip in Q4 last year. I think it was with Jakarta. So that was a lot of fun, just going around and talking about the Jakarta features and doing a demonstration. So absolutely. Good time there. We also have some other events over at the events page on servicenow.com. Some of these are coming up. There are many more that you want to check out. And I invite you to follow me on LinkedIn, Twitter, or Xing, Xing is a popular one over a popular social media network over in EMEA. I put out announcements all the time. Sometimes it's like 20 of these things in a day. Sometimes it's nothing. It really depends on what our social media team has for me to share, and I share that with you. Kevin says, I have not posted it yet, but the Orlando Developer Meetup is August 6th. Great. Let's go back to the meetup page. That would fit in right between Chennai and South Florida. So excellent. We can have Orlando. I would hope Tampa Bay is in there somewhere too. Let's see, 6th, 8th. I'm thinking road trip. Maybe we'll see. Chuck, can you please cover how to trigger notifications through ATF? If it's just a notification, I generally don't want to answer them this way, but through ATF. I'm sorry, I was thinking Flow Designer for a second. I do not know offhand. That would be a good question to ask in the community, which is, of course, at community.servicenow.com. which is where we're going right now. Let's see, did I miss anything in the comments before I get going? No, I did not. The community is right here. Let's put the title away. And I want to get to some of these random questions that came in. I'm going to start at the top. How do you get state field of total choice values in glide method? I'm not sure what that question is. So I'm going to have to try and figure out what the underlying state field of total. If anybody in the chat can figure out what that might mean, I'd love to. I'm open to interpretation. That one, I'm not understanding the question, so it makes it very difficult. How do you get the difference between two dates and times? What is the property? The easiest way I know is to use gs.getDiff. This is where I'm often going to refer to the documentation on the portal. DateDiff takes the difference between two string values, but I believe you can also pass it objects. I haven't tried it lately. Let's check the API reference over at developer.servicenow.com. Again, that's right there. If you want to get your free personal developer instance and do away with that, calculates the difference between two dates. Now, it doesn't matter whether or not you use get display value or get value in these cases, but make sure it's consistent with both. If I've got a start date and an end date, like on an incident or any task has an actual state and an actual end is how they're labeled now, but they are the start and end date and time. You can retrieve those values, put the string values in here. These are both strings. If you used one as get display value and used another one as get value, you're going to have a time zone offset, sometimes of several hours, depending on where you are from GMT. But if you keep that method or the function you're using to retrieve those values the same, doesn't matter if you use get value or get display value, the difference is always the same. It's just going to adjust both for the time zone or not. All right, that is get display gs date diff. Let's go to the next one. How to capture home pages into an update set. What is the property of it? Is there one parameter? Capturing pages in home pages in an update set is called unloading a page. And you can do that quite easily if you haven't done that before. If I go to homepage admin, and I pick a home page, pages. Once it's defined, let's say I want to take, holy goodness, there's 95 of them. All right, we'll take PA dashboards, just for the fun of it. you can, if I remember right, it was in here as unload page. Oop, it was from the list. There is a UI action, so I click that. Is it the list here? Move to application. Where was it? You know what? This is where I'm going to look at the docs page. Kingston and unload homepage. Add a homepage to an update set application. Requires admin, homepage admin, pages, right-click a homepage record, and unload portal page. It's a right-click UI action. I was close. So you can right-click here and say unload portal page, and it will dump the configuration of that into the update set. Why it doesn't capture them by default, I don't know. Scheduled jobs are like that too by default. The other option I found with scheduled jobs is you can, since we're on a tangent anyway, scheduled jobs. I think I covered this the other day, but I'm not sure. I know I wanted to mention it. You could pick the records. I'm just going to pick like the last two here and use this move to application. If you're using a scoped application, they're going to be caught automatically. For whatever reason, they like to get put into the sys application data collection so that when you save it to a GitHub repo or publish it to the app repo so that you can install it. Scoped applications are easy. They get captured, but global applications in update sets, scheduled jobs don't get captured. I believe you can use the move to application and it will put it into the currently active default or currently active update set. You know what? Let's check that out. I am just all over the place. Local update sets. That's what this show is all about, is just exploring free train of thought. Let's make a new update set. I am in the global space, so this will be CLS 2018-07-12 demo update set for scheduled jobs. Let's submit and make that current. Just for proof that it is my current update set, I'm going to go to the settings, developer, turn on the update set picker, which I generally don't have. It's not my nature to use that because I don't use update sets all that often, but there it is, just for evidence that it is there and it is working. Now let's go back to scheduled jobs. Maybe that list will still be here. It is. I like that history thing. I use it more and more every day. And automatically run a script of your choosing. Interceptor. The name is going to be demo script. And I will put in gs.info. Here, you know what? Write something worthy of a prize. Try not to steal my code on that one. And if I say save, even though this CLS update set is active, if I go into that update set, I do not have that record. However, oops, if I go into my script, not script, I want the list, sort those by updated, click demo script and say move to file, move to application, excuse me. It says files added to an application can be managed. Well, that's not very nice. It's asking me which application, global, move. Let's see what happens. It's been moved to the global application. Get this notification out of the way. Oop, little late, I hit the search box instead. Go to the update sets and it's still not in there. Bummer. I thought that would do it. I know it works for scoped applications. I use it for demo data all the time. So merge with another update set. All right. It says it's part of this update set. Is that sysupdate XML? No, that's sysupdate set. What if I make a change? I don't want to merge those update sets. Let's make a change to my wicked awesome code. Where did my scheduled job go? Demo script. I don't know what's going to happen here. Document your code, kids. Update that. Now, does it get in there? Let's find out. Update set, update set, update sets. CLS 722. Nope. I'd have an entry under customer updates. Scheduled jobs are kind of annoying that way. Another reason for using scoped applications. I don't have to worry about all that stuff. Okay, let's get off of that rabbit trail. Come back here and answer another question. What else can we answer? We did how to capture the home pages. What is get client data and put client data? This is a server side and client side script that you can use to push information from the server to the client for put client data. This is something you would use on developer.servicenow.com, my best friend. It is used, do we have an example? Yes. It is a server-side call that you can say, session is gs.getSession, put client data. You can say, I have a variable called test1 with a value, Harry. All right. It is very, very similar to gscratchpad. So if I put something in with client data, it's putting it into a bucket on the server. So I would use this typically from a display business rule, for example. Put that in there, and then my get client data, I should have one really, really close by. Get time zone, get roles, get language, get client data. Okay. This is also server code. Interesting. Because the description says, returns the session client value previously set with put client data. This method is used in a client script to retrieve data values that were set by a server script that you used in put client. It's used in a client script? That doesn't look like a good use of client script. Let's see if gform, GlideForm, has an equivalent of that. Maybe my understanding of this has been totally blown out of the water. You know, I'm finding that that search over on the left isn't all that good. I don't know what's up with that. GlideForm has a class called, I don't want API, I want API. There we go. gform has lots of things. Get control, get element. All right, I'm not finding any use for that. I don't use it a whole lot. Somebody else ever use get client data, put client data? It's interesting. Why would you do that on the server side only to retrieve information on the server side? It has to have something to do with the client data. You know, I'm gonna put that one in my back pocket and play around with it a little more. How to encrypted value into decrypted in catalog. I assume they want to take an encrypted value. You can only decrypt if the field is designated as a two-way encryption. That means you can encrypt it and decrypt it. If it's one-way encryption, you can't decrypt it. That's kind of the point. The in the catalog, I don't think there's an encrypted type as a catalog variable. Let's go find out. Maintain items. Service catalog, they want to know maybe they want to know, how can I do encrypted and unencrypted information? Variables. Variables, stop it. Gotta wait for the form to load, then all the annotations, then you can start scrolling. And I have a slow browser. Still waiting for my new machine. Let's go to new, and currently, I don't believe there is. Yeah, there's nothing to actually encrypt. We've got break, checkbox, containers, IP label list. I'm just making sure I don't miss it. Macro with label masked. Masked? Mask might be for passwords. I've never seen that one before. Amazing how you go to the same things over and over. It's like it's a string, it's a select, it's a yes, no, it's a checkbox. But there are other variable types in here. Masked, I'm assuming, is going to be a password. You know what? There's a way to check. Let's see what it has to say about variable data types. Flows, data types for assessment, action inputs, dictionary entry data types. Data types for quizzes, Cabrillo.js data types. Create an output variable, create input variables. Is it in here? No, these are input variables for orchestration. That's not what I'm looking for. All right. At this point, there's no encryption type for variables. Bummer. What is catalog item components? That takes a bit longer to explain if you haven't developed service catalog items, but I'll try to start from the beginning and go where I can. The service catalog is, of course, how you present a lot of stuff. This may be very basic for some of you, but I realize many are just starting out on ServiceNow, so let's start at the top. Let's go to the beginning. We have a service catalog. This service catalog is a way of presenting various items, categorized in various ways. Here's a category, can we help you? If I click can we help you, I get a number of catalog items and or record producers underneath there. The catalog items are a definition. When I order something, it becomes a request item with a whole cart process behind it. There's a parent request. You can kind of think of that as your order. There's request items, which are line items on that order. And then there may be tasks for each of those request items. If I go to create incident, for example, this is not a catalog item. There's no order button over here. There's no price. There's no quantity. It is a record producer, which means it will create a record. It will produce a record, hence the name record producer, in a table directly. These are often handy if you want to simplify the intake form for that table. In this case, it's going to create an incident. I don't need to ask all kinds of categories and subcategories, and that doesn't make sense for an end user. It just confuses them, and they're less likely to use your system. The simpler you can make a form like this, the better off you'll be. So they can say, what is the urgency? This is high. My monitor is on fire. And this one happens to have search results that show maybe I need to order a new monitor. Okay? Remember when 19-inch monitors were a big deal? They were like 80 pounds when they were CRTs. Like the 19-inch monitor was about the size of my 27-inch monitor on my iMac. It's crazy. Okay? If I don't find the right answer in here, I can still choose to go ahead and submit it, and it will create an incident taking me to that particular incident form with the other fields filled out as necessary. The state, the watch list, etc. However the administrators put together that record producer. So that is a catalog usage. You define the catalog items under maintain items. Service catalog, catalog definition, maintain items. Each one has a definition. Let's take this one for Microsoft Access. Why anybody would use Access, I don't know. Use ServiceNow instead. Sorry, just shameless plug there. You fill in a bunch of properties, including the category you wanted to fill in. We do support multiple service catalogs. You might have a catalog just for IT, so IT can make requests of other IT things. You might have a general public one. You might have one that's a high security one or a VIP catalog. You can divide these up any way you like and put them into multiple catalogs. And then each catalog can have multiple categories of its own. The information at the top, price, that sort of thing for catalog item, delivery time, estimated, a description of what it is you're offering. You can put in pictures, and then you can include these variables like I was looking for before to ask for specific information. Okay, if you're ordering a laptop, how much memory do you need? What's the hard drive capacity? What operating system? That sort of thing are the variables you can put in there. Do you need a trackpad or a mouse? You've all seen this when you order a computer online, and then it can adjust the price accordingly. You can say, if I swap out the mouse for trackpad, it adds $50 to the price. That kind of thing can be done with variables. I won't get into the rest of these, but you can make them accessible or not accessible through what we call user criteria. You define a group of people, excuse me, and maybe you only want this particular item to be available to your database team. Maybe only database people can use the catalog item for requesting a new schema. I don't know why that would make any sense, but maybe it does in your organization. Sorry, bumped the microphone. But you can make that available to that group, and then nobody else can see that item. It's still defined, it's still out there, but it's only presented to people who match that user criteria. So that is my quick and dirty run through of catalog. There is more to go with it. You get into workflows for the execution of that. It is what it is. What is GlideRecord Secure? What is the use of it, and how will it be used? In a nutshell, GlideRecord Secure is an extension of GlideRecord. The main difference between the two is that GlideRecord Secure, when you use it in a script, if I have, I might just have one up here from previous examples. Let's see, a couple of URLs. Nope, string util. There's a GlideRecord. Okay, let's say I am going to run this script, and I'm going to go into the CLS demo and try and delete this record. This simply says instantiate the GlideRecord object into a demo object, the GlideRecord class into the demo object, then go get the record with this sysid and delete it. Very simple, right? I don't need this record, let's go delete it. If I did this with just a GlideRecord query, it runs as the system. It basically ignores the ACL, making the script insecure. In some cases, I may want to do that. Deleting records, always a bad idea. If you heard me preaching yesterday, try not to delete records. But maybe it's something like update. Okay, let's set the demo.state equals 7. We're trying to close this record, and I use update instead. If I do it as GlideRecord, it doesn't matter if I am Joe employee with no roles. It doesn't matter if I'm admin with all the roles. It will run, it will update, and it will execute as needed. Terrific thing if you want to run scripts in the background. Terrific thing if you want to execute a process regardless of who's doing it. You have access to that data, provided you don't run into scoped application cross-scope privileges. That is for application to application access. Okay, there's a whole different story that I'm going to tell there, but not right now. We're going to assume this is in the global scope for the moment to keep things simple. If I am Joe employee and I run this script through a UI action or business rule or something, and it says, go delete this change request, it will happily delete the change request. If, however, I use GlideRecord Secure and I do not have write access to that table, the x63, whatever it is, CLS demo table, if I don't have access to that, write access to those records, this will fail and it'll say, I'm sorry, you don't have access to that. Kevin Eldridge, quick correction. The Orlando Developer Meetup is August 7th, not August 6th. Okay. Excellent. Even better. Morning, Chad from Atlanta. What criteria do you use when deciding when to build a complex catalog item versus building a custom application? Again, catalog items are going to be useful when you have ordering, when you have pricing, when you have quantities, when you've got variables such as that. If it is, and it will be tracked in the request item record, if you need to peel it out and it is its own process, it gets a little dicey of when you would go with a custom table and a record producer and do its own application. I don't have any hard and fast rules, but generally if it is a separate process that is repeatable, that is accountable, where you need roles around that, maybe the security is, only the safety department can manage access, can write to records or write to these certain fields in the safety record. I wouldn't want to do that in the catalog item, because then you're saying, well, if it's this catalog, your ACLs get out of control. If it comes down to this is a department's process, this is their data, they're going to manage it, I've got lookup rules that they're going to maintain in production, keep development out of it, all those best practices around an application, then it would make sense. I think there's more of a general guideline of how many people am I servicing, what is the process, what are the people that are going to be using it versus just accessing it. I guess using it is a bad term. Who are my fulfillers? Who are my requesters? That sort of thing. And you can kind of define that in your head and get an idea from those requirements. Again, like any other application or catalog item, understand what the requirements are. It may be that you start out as a catalog item and realize this is too big and too difficult to maintain. It's grown beyond the bounds of what the catalog is for. I usually see catalog items as I want to order it, be done, go forward. Okay, it's a very, I don't want to use bespoke because that could also be used for the application. Hope that helps. Comments, work notes fields is refer one table. What is that? Comments and work notes are journal fields, and they're stored in, I believe, the table sysjournal field. Let me check that real quick. tables. Let's go look in system definition tables. And the table name has journal in it. Sysjournal field is where it stores those entries. But don't go mining through that table yourself. I don't recommend it. If you need access to the entries in there, the best way to do that is with the getJournalEntry method, which I keep grabbing that water, but I never take a drink. It's kind of funny. I'm passing that back and forth. Again, I don't like the search on the left. GetJournalEntry. Take a look at this method if you want to access the information there. You can get just one entry, the most recent. You pass a number to this thing and you say current.comments.getJournalEntry, and in parentheses you put 1, and it'll return the latest entry. If you put a -1, it returns everything. If you put a 3, it'll return the latest 3 entries. Okay, hope that helps. That's all about journal entries. Where were we on this list? What is Planning Console? That has to do, if I recall, I'm not an ITBM expert, but it's around project and portfolio management, so you can do your project planning. What is ITIL Incident Table Process Flow? Whatever you want. Incident is your break-fix process. ITIL has a definition. It's a framework of how you define your incident response in your service operations. It's been a while since I studied my ITIL stuff, but I believe that's where incident lives. It's not service delivery or service transition, but the incident. I had a very light incident process when I was a customer. It was simply a break fix. Something would come in, we would triage it at the service desk, and if we could resolve it, we resolved it. Hey, my VPN token isn't working. Great, send out another VPN token. Done. At that time, it was put in the snail mail. Does that still exist? Inter-office brown envelopes with the string, so you could actually send something between buildings. I don't know. It was a thing when I was a customer. Now I work from home. Don't have to worry about that. Now I get FedEx packages. I'm expecting one soon. If it couldn't be resolved, it was escalated. Part of the triage was also, is this a critical incident? Is this a problem? A lot of things come in as incidents that are not really incidents. So you would have to divert those and reroute those, and an incident makes it very easy. If you haven't seen this, and maybe you have. But if I go to incident, let's take an open one. And I picked number 4 here. The form menu, which you can get either from the form menu icon up here in the upper left, or right-click on the form header. You can create a problem, create a request. You can open up catalog request of some type. I don't know what this does. Where's it go? Oh, it goes to the catalog. That's nice. Yeah, I never chose that one before. Or, wait for the form to finish loading. You can create a child incident, which would be have a reference to this incident. Some people do this master parent child thing. You can create a normal change, or et cetera, et cetera. So these UI actions, can you edit the UI action from there? No, you can't. Those are UI actions as a form context menu. And if you've never dealt with one of those before, you could go to Configure, UI Actions, and it'll say, here's all the UI actions for this table. And you can see, here's the one for Create Problem. It is defined as a form context menu over here on the right-hand side. You can see that. It is only available when you update, so you can't create an incident, and while you're creating an incident, create the problem, because there's nothing to refer to until you submit the incident, so it makes sense to uncheck that. Keep an eye on these, by the way, when you're creating UI actions. More times than not, I turn this one off, because do you want that UI action to appear and do something while you're in the process of creating that incident? Maybe, maybe not. More times than not, I don't use that. Okay. Then, of course, there's a condition. When else should I approach this? These conditions have to be met. The person has to have this specific role. The problem ID has to be empty, is what it says. The state needs to not be closed. You don't want to present that pull down on a closed incident. If it's closed, then it's not a problem, right? That would make sense. Then they go through and create a new GlideRecord on problem, do an insert to create that record, save the sysid back to current, update the current record, and then print out a message. And here's an interesting one that I don't use all that often, but I'm thinking about starting to use it the more I see it. I'm going to bring that out here. Many of you have probably seen action.setRedirectURL. That says, as soon as I'm done creating this, as soon as I'm done running this UI action, take me here. And it accepts either a GlideRecord, as in this case, PROB was instantiated as a GlideRecord on the problem table, or it'll take a URL. So I could steer them directly to this. Maybe it's got a specific view. Maybe it's got something else. I could say /problem.do $sysID equals blah, 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 and create this URL and redirect them there. There's another one, set return URL, such that I doubly ensure that when they get to that problem, if they want to use the back arrow button, this guy over here, up here in the corner where I use the back on the, not necessarily this one, but I use this one, it will take me there. We can test that out real fast. You go, well, Chuck, doesn't it do that by default? Maybe, maybe not. Let's create a problem. And it's going to do its stuff in the UI action. It says, haha, 4001 was created. If I use that back button, it should take me back to the incident. Let's also take this one. It takes me back to the incident, but it may not have. Let's do another one, since that one already has a problem ID. Actually, we could fix that. It filled in problem ID. Just one of the conditions is that has to be empty, right? Save that, and we'll test my back button theory. You go, why do you even bother? I'm down a rabbit hole, people. I haven't answered a single question all day. This is still the same one, and this is why we put them in separate, separate messages. Okay, so this also works. That may or may not work from a UI action. The set return URL ensures that it gets back to the current URL. I don't use that very often, but I do like to see it in use, and I should think about using that more often. Next question. I think that was it. Oh, that was it. Okay. Then I'm going to go into one other that we were working on apart from this show. That way you don't have to watch me type so much. And that is using a script in a dynamic filter. What they were trying to do is, let's go back to my incident table, is use an encoded query to sort of speed up this process and say, you know what, I want all the active P1 incidents. So I could show matching. I could create that filter and save that filter, but they were looking to make use of this in some other way. I forgot what it was. They wanted to go in here and say sysID is one of, and then write a little JavaScript in here, get incidents. Now, I already wrote this script. They were claiming that gs.getProperty was not working. And you can do this on your own if you want to make a filter. It said sysID is in, which is the first part that I defined, and then all these sysIDs come out and you get exactly what matches this query. Or should have matched that query. I've got 56 records. That is not working. Huh. All right, let's go look at my script. How many did it return? Actually, let's go look at the log first. Something's up. Created. The idea is in a script include, maybe it's not working. I said it was. System definition script includes. Script includes are a collection of server-side code that you can run in a business rule, in workflows, UI actions. I highly recommend them. They make it easy to test your code and then implement it in your process however it's triggered. Scheduled jobs. You can also use them, again, I'm referring back to Tech Now episode 6 from 2013, where we covered a lot of this stuff. You can use them in a number of different ways. You can use them as a global function. So you notice on that one, I didn't have a class. I didn't instantiate it with a new get incidents. I have the function is the same as the name of the script include. This has to match this. And I get my query string from a property, that I set, custom incident query. And but to make this work in a filter, I have to make it client callable. That's the one caveat that you got to do to make this work. I'm going to do a gs.info query equals, you know what, I'm going to make it stand out a little bit better for me. I want to make sure this is getting called. Debug query equals, I don't think it's an issue with gs.getProperty. I think it's the way that the script wants to work. I did make this accessible from all application scopes, so it's not restricted, even though I'm in incident, it's global, the script is global. Here I'm doing a GlideRecord, so I'm not paying attention to any security. So if the person doesn't have access, this GlideRecord will still work. Let's output the query statement. In fact, let's do something even before that and put in gs.info debug get incidents started. Now I'm going to kick myself, but let's try this as well. Let's put a breakpoint right there, and let's also start the debugger. I don't know if it's going to catch that or not because this is client callable. So I am doing both debugger and this might be in my history. Let's find out. Script include get incidents, log incidents. I don't know if that's going to run my script again. Yes, no? Okay, fine. Let's do it this way. And do sysid in, not is, in is one of JavaScript get incidents. Run. Okay, the debugger did not trip. I got 56 records when in fact I should not have. The crazy thing is about this script include is if I go like this, here's the fun part. I define the function, I'm returning the array, and I go test it in script's background and call it gs.info array equals get incidents, call that and run it. It says, nice. I forgot to call it, turn it into a function. That's nice. If you don't say it, it'll just say, yep, get incidents is a function. It says, here's my query string. The GS info worked. Here's how many records I found, 15. So why did I get 56 before? And here's the array of those 15 characters. Why is this returning a crazy array when I do it the other way? Now I ran it and I got 56 records. So theoretically, I should have some debug statements in my log. And I have get incidents started and then nothing more. There's my query. Oh, that was the one from script's background. Let me do that again. I'm getting my test data confused with this data. List sysid is one of, I really wish that would work. JavaScript get incidents. I'm going to copy that because I'm going to be back. I know I will. I run it. I get 56 records. Do I get anything in the log? Here we are debugging this. And the answer is no. 648, 648, 648, 648, 648. A lot of stuff happening, but not in the time frame that I was doing this. So what happened? It's not running that script for whatever reason. I've used these before and I know it works. So that thread is not done. I thought I had that one closed off, but apparently it is not working. And I will have to make a correction to that thread. Interesting, interesting. I know I've done a JavaScript colon something on those lists before and it worked. But I don't think it's because it's not even saying that it started, which means it's not running the script. It's something more systemic in what we're doing. Maybe, I don't know, I'm going to take a wild guess here. We got about 10 minutes left. I don't want to waste the whole time debugging this script. If you don't make a client callable, let's update that. I don't think it's going to work at all. It's going to say, I have no idea what you're talking about. There's something about this list filter that says it's got to be, yeah, it says null. And I've probably got a log entry that says, I have no idea what that is. Yep, this get incidents is not defined. So obviously it has to be client callable. If it's client callable, let's try this. I didn't do this. Let's try this from scripts background. Let's go gs.info get incidents instead of defining the function in there. And it says 15 records found. It's not running it from the list. I wonder if that's been taken out for some reason. If you can't do that anymore. I'll have to look. I know it used to work. Fuji, Eureka, Geneva. I'm trying to remember when the last time I tried that was. It has worked. And this is list v2, so it's not like I'm doing something crazy with list v3 right now, right? Right? Incident open. Yeah, this is list v2. Should be working. Okay. Any other notes? You know what? While I'm at it, query business rules. I've been meaning to talk about that. Oh, in that discussion was gs.getProperty, and somebody said, well, why don't you just use a GlideRecord query on the sysproperties table? Reason number one is, and I mentioned this a couple of days ago, so if you're watching, you'll know. Reason number one is performance. Properties are cached. They are used all over the place in the system, both at a JavaScript layer, but also at a Java layer. The properties are continually being checked to see how should this application, this service, this feature be used. What is the behavior? What is the configuration? What is the timeout? How many records should I retrieve? How many records should I display? All of that stuff is done at runtime. And if we had to continually keep hitting a GlideRecord query to the properties table, it would fall apart. Performance of this would go. So we cache all the properties, which is why when you set a new property, it flushes the cache. Which is why you don't want to use the gs.setProperty method more than maybe once a day. Because every time you do, you're going to be flushing the cache. I remember a customer came to me and said, how come this scheduled job, whenever I run the scheduled job, performance is going down the toilet on my instance? I deactivated it and the performance was fine. It was because they were running this job like once a minute and flushing the cache with the setProperty method. So it was just going, hey, forget about what you know, reload the cache. And it would reload the cache and then properties would have to be, it was just terrible. So avoid using setProperty, gs.setProperty if you can. It could really, really hurt. Let's see, can you please bit of explanation about client runner in ServiceNow? Client runner is required when you have an ATF test to run that client portion of it because it needs to bring up the forms, bring up the UI, and run that test. You can, originally when we came out with ATF in, was it Jakarta? Istanbul? I'd have to look. It was at least a year ago when ATF came out. And the original idea was you ran this interactively when you click the test run button. With Kingston, maybe it was Jakarta, whatever it was, with the next release of ATF, we could schedule these things in the background, and you can set up, say, this VM situation on the back end. Maybe you're using AWS, maybe you're using Azure, maybe you're using local machines in your network that are tied into the instance. They're logged in and they're running. This way you could test Windows with Chrome and Mac with Chrome and Windows with Firefox, and you could set up multiple machines with multiple browsers and do your testing all at once. And you can tell ATF which client runner to use when you do that test. You say, great, I ran this test against Windows on Edge or Windows on IE11 and it passed. But when I ran this same test on Mac Chrome, I had issues. So that tells you what you need to resolve. If you can target your user base a little bit better with your ATF tests. So the client runner is a separate window that opens up. It's running basically ServiceNow, but it's running the test in that window. Hope that answers that question. Works in reports, the JavaScript colon function. Yeah, that's what is bizarre, and I don't know why that is not working on the list, because I have used it in the lists. Thanks, Chris, for letting me know that. All right, a couple more minutes. I was going to talk about, let's see if I can get through query business rules. I already did create application files, so why not? It's the last thing on my list that I wanted to talk about today. And that is query business rules. I had a nice image up here at one point. Let me see if it's in our docs. I don't know if it's going to be in here or if it's going to be in here. I think it's going to be in here. Business rules. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Query business rules run at the start. How business rules work. I think it's that one. Before or after async display. There it is. Okay. User makes a query. Incident.list. I want a list of incidents. It first runs a query business rule to say, should I filter any of this for you? Is there anything I need to do before I do the database query? It's sort of a preprocessor to your query. And there are a number of query business rules defined. You can look under System Definition Business Rules and say, query is true. Run that. And I should have one that says something about incidents in here. Incident query. All right, it says anytime you query the incident table, I want you to run before a query. That's why we often call them before query business rules. I don't know what you get with an after query business rule, if that's even a valid thing. Let's find out. Okay. I don't think it actually runs, but maybe somebody wants to experiment with that. What do you want me to do before that query? It says, if you don't have the ITIL role and you are at the keyboard, excuse me, which means you're not in integration, you're not happening some other way. There is a person at a browser running this, like an end user that doesn't have ITIL role. Then I'm going to get your user ID and I am going to add this condition. Current is a known object in before business rules. It's known in all business rules, apparently. I'm going to add this query that says, only look for incidents where you are the caller ID or it's open by you or you're in the watch list. You have to be a participant in that incident to see it. This is also a good way to do getting rid of those error messages that says rows removed due to security constraints 20. So if I've got 5,000 records in my table, but the user is only granted access to see maybe 10 of those 5,000, and they're scattered throughout the table, you don't want them going, next page, 20 more rows removed, next page, 20 more rows removed, next page, 20 more rows removed. Just show me that 10 that work, okay? You can filter those out with the similar logic that you put in your ACL to put it in here. Maybe it's because of a role. In here you would say, look, if you don't have this role, then filter on and say current.add query, blah, and you will do the same kind of filter, and then you remove that security constraint message. So before query business rules are a wonderful thing to use. They add on to the query before it actually does the query. So no matter what the person says, I want just the active incidents. If they don't have the ITIL role, they're going to get just the active incidents where they're the caller, open by, or in the watch list. That's a very handy thing to do. That's going to take us to the end of the show. I wanted to talk about that. I didn't answer a single one, but I got the retro tie on. So it's Throwback Thursday. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you very much. If you're joining live, if you're watching later, I appreciate it very much, taking your time out of your busy day. Don't forget, if you found something that was helpful in this video in the last hour or so, click that like button so that others know. I will get this posted in about an hour after YouTube is done processing it, where you can find all of these shows back to last November 20th. If you really want to go back and watch 102, 103, what is this now, 104, something like that, 105. There's a whole lot of them. That's a lot of hours. I don't expect you to, but there's nuggets of information. You might want to search the descriptions or check the like buttons and see which ones are popular. They are all available from the community live stream playlist on the ServiceNow YouTube channel over there at the URL that's behind me. That wasn't very cool. Let's turn that off. You get it. Just search for ServiceNow Community. You'll find it. Thank you again. Until tomorrow, I wish you all the best. If you learned something today, share it. You'll be a hero. Make the world a better place. Have a good time, and I will talk to you again real soon. Bye.